All right, so then we had the main event. UFC Fight Night. Jack Hermansson versus Marvin Vettori. Hermansson, a guy that's been in this top 5 at 185, had a big-time win over Kelvin Gastelum and was looking to use that momentum to make a run at the title. And unfortunately, man, you hate it for Jack Hermansson, this poor guy. To some extent, also Marvin Vettori. Both these guys had such bad luck with the opponents or the fight dates. This fight was made from scratch on basically 2 weeks' notice. Hermansson had 2 opponents, not one, 2 opponents fall out on him. Kevin Holland just now tested positive for the coronavirus, so you hate that for him. And then Marvin Vettori steps in there, a guy that we have seen at 185. He's making his own run toward top 10, top 5, and with this win, definitely top 5. But yeah, this fight was so interesting coming in because you had 2 guys that you could tell wanted this thing more than they wanted to breathe. Like, they both wanted this. And to be honest, the fight showed that because they went out there and put everything on the line. Let's get into this fight, man. Jack Hermansson, like I said, coming in off a big W over Kelvin Gastelum. And then Vettori coming in on a 3-fight win streak himself. Ferreira, Sanchez, Roberson. And this fight just felt big, man. It felt like one of these grudge matches, this gutter war where whoever won this, yes, they come out of this with the win, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be clean. It's going to be down dirty, and that's what it was. So let's get into this thing, man. The first couple of rounds, Marvin Vettori showed his left hand. When it came out, it touched Jack Hermansson on the chin damn near every time he threw it out there. The left straight was landing every single time. Out of southpaw position, Jack Hermansson standing orthodox, he was getting tagged over and over and over by that left straight, to the point where he gets dropped in the first round. I'm sitting on the couch with Kelsey, my girlfriend, and we're talking about the fights, and I'm sitting there watching, and the exchanges, you could just see that Marvin Vettori was starting to line that left hand up, and Jack Hermansson was not recognizing it. Every time he was moving his head, he was moving it right on the center line for a southpaw. Now, normally you're fighting orthodox, you move that head off. Obviously, the right hand you're shielding from. Now, you move that head orthodox, you move the head on the right side, you're lining up right with the straight left power hand. And I don't know who it was on the broadcast that said so. And sure enough, midway through the first round, Marvin Vettori lands a big one on Jack Hermansson, puts him down. And then Marvin Vettori made a decision I didn't understand, and in my opinion, was a big catalyst as to why this went 5 rounds. Marvin Vettori jumped down into Jack Hermansson's guard. He was threatening with the guillotine. He would throw some punches here and there on the ground, but for the most part, he was allowing Jack Hermansson, a guy that is a great grappler, to rest and recover in behind his grappling. He was allowing a grappler to hold him on the ground, not have to stand on his feet, not have to strike with him, and recover in that time. And sure enough, Jack Hermansson did. And when he did, we get into the second round. Yes, Marvin Vettori is still winning the exchanges, but you see Jack Hermansson starting to come forward. You're seeing a guy starting to implement a pace on Marvin Vettori and push him back into the cage, and while unorthodox, landing some shots, landing some overhands, some knees to the body in the clinch. It was a back-and-forth fight from that point on for the most part until we get to the 5th round. And I think going into the 5th round, this was a closer fight than a lot of people wanted to give Jack Hermansson credit for. I thought he came out in the 3rd round and won that one. The 2nd round was very close. The 4th round started to go Marvin Vettori's way. And then in the 5th round, we had an all-out slugfest. Both guys in the pocket for most of the fight, to be fair. But in the 5th round, both guys in the pocket letting it fly. Marvin Vettori turned up his output in rounds 4 and 5. His ability to not only land that left hand on Hermansson, but do so with such precision and power. I mean, he was snapping the head back. Every time he wanted to throw that straight left, it was there. And in that 5th round, Marvin Vettori takes over, and he wins this fight by unanimous decision. And listen, folks, people forget, Marvin Vettori has not lost since the Israel Adesanya fight. He has been taking name after name, and he's been dominating these guys, beating submission specialists by submission. He held his own and in my opinion, performed pretty well in the grappling in this fight against Jack Hermansson, who has been choking out everyone, dominating like high-level grapplers, Jacare Souza and David Branch. These guys that are high level at 185, and Jack Hermansson was walking right through them. Subbed Kelvin Gastelum, another high-level grappler. Marvin Vettori just put himself into that top 5 and did so with a statement. He was not necessarily so impressed with himself after his fight. He said he could have done a lot better. Obviously a very humble guy. I thought he had a great fight myself, but he was saying, look, I could have done this better. I should have looked better. But in his post-fight interview, while he's kind of, playing himself down that he didn't have a great performance, he goes off and he says, I want Paulo Costa, Borrachina, come and get you some. And it's a great call out. First off, it's a very good call out for Marvin Vettori, a guy that's in the top 5. a guy that just recently fought a familiar face to Marvin Vettori, Israel Adesanya. And I'll say this as we wrap up. There was a point in Israel Adesanya's career where he was entering the UFC. And I'm pretty sure, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure his first fight was Marvin Vettori. And after that fight, Israel had said some things along the lines of, and again, don't quote me on this, I'm paraphrasing. If anything, I'm close, but not quite on the mark. He says basically, I won't be seeing that guy again. He's never getting to a title, or he's not getting to a title that's not a title contender. I won't be seeing that guy again. Those were Israel's words. And if there's ever been a more true statement than don't count your chickens before they hatch, it's right now. Because I'll tell you something. Marvin Vettori is not only for real, but he is coming for that Israel Adesanya rematch. I know Izzy has business right now at 205, but think about the story there. Marvin Vettori, his last loss is to the champion at 185. And I'll say something, that fight right there between those two, it wasn't as smooth as Israel wanted it to be. In fact, I'm pretty sure Israel only won by a split decision. And God knows I love Izzy. We love Izzy at this podcast. He's one of the best strikers, I think, in the UFC right now, maybe in the world. But Marvin Vettori, if he just wins one more fight, he might very well get that round 2 with Izzy. And again, that first fight was very, very close. I'd say Marvin Vettori is title contender worthy. Matter of fact, I'd say Izzy sees him again. We'll see.